All right.
Elaine is on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Legislation in response to the continuing impact of COVID-19 has extended the exemption to the open meetings law that provides that public bodies may meet to take actions without permitting public in-person access to the meetings, and authorizes the meetings to be held remotely by conference call, provided that the public has the ability to view or listen to those proceedings and that the meetings are recorded and later transcribed. This year's budget, I just want to add, contains amendments to the public offices law that would permit continuing participation by board members in public meetings using video facilities. We're reviewing the amendments to determine next steps, but the budget bill provides a 60-day period during which our COVID-19 procedures can continue. So we expect to be able to continue with this format for our May and meetings. So with that, as a result, today's board meeting is being held via conference call instead of a public open meeting. But a call-in number has been made public, so any interested members of the public can listen to the proceedings. So I'm going to ask for motions and seconds to call to order our April 14th, 2022 meetings. First, I'm going to ask for a motion and a second for HFA, HTFC, and AHC.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Now I'm going to take each individual vote, and we will use these votes as they are, as items come up throughout the meeting. Ruth Ann? Chris?
Aye.
Joyce?
Aye.
Jesse?
Aye.
Sadie?
Aye.
B?
Aye.
Judge Schoharie?
Aye.
Okay, HFA is open. Now we're going to move to SONYMA. Motion to open SONYMA, please.
So moved, B.
Second.
Okay. B and Joyce. Now I'm going to take individual votes again. Ruth Ann?
Aye.
Jonathan?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Joyce?
Aye.
Jesse?
Aye.
Elaine?
Aye.
And Avidan?
Aye.
And B.
Aye.
Great, we're open for SONYMA. Now we're going to do Mbba and TSFC. There's only a couple of items there. Joyce? I'm sorry, a motion to open. We'll do that, Joyce. A second?
Okay.
Seconded, Andy.
Andy, okay. So now we'll do the votes. Jesse?
Aye.
And Linda?
Aye.
I see you. Okay. The Mortgage Insurance Committee, a motion to open that. John, Dave, a motion to open the MIC.
So move.
A second?
Second.
Okay. Ruth Ann
Aye.
and Jesse.
Aye.
Okay, that's open. So we're going to open now. I'm sorry to do this to you guys, but we got so many committees. So we're going to do the Audit Committee for HFA and AHC. That's an easy one. Jesse, can you move to open?
So moved.
And Chris, you got a second?
Second.
Okay, that's open. SONYMA Audit. Jesse, can you move?
Moved.
And Joyce, can you second?
Second.
That's open. Mbba Audit. Andy, can you move?
So moved.
And Jesse, second?
Yep.
And Joyce, you're a present.
Yes.
Now we'll do the governance committees, HFA and AHC. Jesse, can you move to open?
So moved.
And Chris, second?
Second.
Okay, SONYMA governance, Dave or Jesse, can you move?
So move. Second.
Okay, second. And John, you're present. And Ruthann, you're present. MBBA governance, Linda, would you like to move to open?
So moved.
And Jesse, second?
Yeah.
Okay. That, I think, opens up all our meetings. And now, Ruth Ann, your president's report.
Great. Thank you, Alex, and good morning, more formally, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this. I think what's going to be 80 degrees in New York. Not sure where spring went. Summer day, maybe. I just was going to update on 3 quick things. Maybe not so quick, but the budget, which just passed, the Climate Action Council work, and the presidential budget. So I'll do the 2 small ones first, and then I'll get to the state budget last. The president released his budget for fiscal 2023, which has some ambitious proposals for climate change, for racial equity, for housing discrimination, certainly lots of things that touch the work we do. And as these things go, time will tell. The couple things I would just note is there are increases on housing choice vouchers, which is great for us. There are increases to CDBG and to home funding, great programs that we run here. And while we don't run the public housing capital and operating, there's also funding in there, which is great for the statewide public housing stock in general. So as always with the presidential budget and the federal budget, we'll see where that goes, but certainly it's good out of the gate. Secondly, the Climate Action Council. So as folks will remember, maybe have heard me talk a couple times, I sit on the Climate Action Council as a member and ran, although very much spearheaded by Becky Kepnick and Samantha Pierce on our team, the housing portion of that. And we're at the phase now where a scoping plan is put forward, which outlines how we're going to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions 85% by 2050. It's very aggressive. It had been that transportation and buildings were always kind of neck and neck as the biggest emitters for greenhouse gases. I think now they redid some calcs, and now housing is number 1 and transportation is number 2. So certainly a lot of pressure on the housing sector to get off fossil fuels in order to try to meet those climate goals. So the scoping plan is out, which outlines that plan, and we're in the process of doing 10 public sessions to get input. There have been 3 so far. I went to one in the Bronx at our former chair's former home at Bronx Community College, which was, I had not been up there in quite some time. Is really such a beautiful campus. And then went day before yesterday to the one in Binghamton. So it's really great, I think, to be getting public input to what is a really, really significant plan to get at greenhouse gases generally, but also very specifically in housing. And I'll talk a little bit about that now also in the context of the housing plan. So shifting for a second to the state budget, I am going to, for those who are, for those who are on the screen, I am going to share my screen just for a second, because I think it's helpful to look at this in a quick PowerPoint, because it's a lot of numbers. Okay. Okay, so can you all see my screen? New York Housing Priorities and State Budget? Yes. Alex, can you? Yes. Okay, great. Super. Okay, so the budget this year included a big commitment to expand housing. There's over really $5.8 million of capital that's new, that is supporting what is a $25 billion sort of overall plan to create and preserve 100,000 units over the next 5 years, including 10,000 units with supportive services. So this is similar, obviously, to the plan that we're just at the tail of, another 100,000 units. There are areas we're expanding, which is why there's additional funding, and we're really excited for all the opportunities that this presents. The sort of difference between the capital and sort of the overall number is, as you all know, we have an enormous amount of federal resources that go into that overall $25 billion to support the investment on the federal 4% tax credits, bonds, 9% tax credits, et cetera. So this is not everything, but I wanted to get at sort of some of the big buckets of funding in the plan. So in sort of the new construction umbrella, there is funding for supportive housing. It's sort of split up as 7,000 units of new construction, which is part of an overall statewide commitment for supportive housing that we've been doing in kind of these 5-year chunks, as well as 1,000 units of preservation. So there was a big sort of call this year in the budget to make sure that while we're building new supportive housing, we also have resources to go back and rehab the supportive housing that's been built over the last couple decades through New York 1, New York 2, New York 3, and now Hfa, to make sure that those units don't fall away as we're building new ones. So the number got significantly bigger. We did 6,000 units over the last housing plan, and this will now be 10,000 new construction and preservation. Also funding for new construction of multifamily housing, senior housing, middle income housing. New this year and quite expansive is a $400 million for home ownership. As you probably have sort of heard a little bit in some of the board meetings, we have been spending a lot of time looking at home ownership rates across the state, and also at looking at Black and brown home ownership rates versus white home ownership rates as it relates to approvals for mortgages, and looking at the disparities there. So we have done a lot of things on the SONYMA side around mortgages, and this is really an effort to complement that on the supply side, to say not only do we need to help people on the credit side and access to credit, we need to make sure that people are building affordable home ownership so that people have something to buy. And this can be both, you probably have heard on the HTFC board meeting, legacy cities, which is getting at sort of rehab of existing housing that's kind of off the tax rolls and, often sort of a blight in neighborhoods, as well as new construction of affordable home ownership. So we're really excited about that. Switching to preservation, we are sort of equally excited and leaning in on doing an enormous amount of preservation of existing regulated and unregulated housing across the state. Continuing our efforts on the Mitchell-Lama portfolio. We've really done great strides over the last 10 years, really, to make major investments in our Mitchell-Lama portfolio, but there are still lots of buildings to go. So this money will be well used in that portfolio. There was also, this is 150, but it's actually, I think, $200 million that was put forward in the budget for public housing outside New York City. You've also seen, I think, a lot of the housing authorities around the state go through RAD or utilize other programs to do really comprehensive renovations that they otherwise can't do with their limited capital funding from HUD. So this funding will allow us to keep that funding going. We have there certainly, as many of you know, there's a big effort in Syracuse to really transform the entire public housing stock there. So, and they're not alone. There's sort of many others that we'll see coming through. There's also, in addition to the public housing outside New York City, there is funding for NYCHA separately in the budget. It's $350 million. There's $160 million for a variety of rural programs, including mobile and manufactured home park work that we're doing, some funding for small rural rental properties. There's $85 million for accessory dwelling units. So there was a lot of talk about legislation for accessory dwelling units. This is really targeted to either creation of new or improvement of existing accessory dwelling units. Outside of that legislation, there are still lots of places in the state you can build new, and where some that are not legal exist and need to be rehabbed. So this will go for that. And then lastly, sort of in the big buckets, is another really new exciting thing, which is $250 million for an electrification fund. So per my comments about the Climate Action Council, we really want to get out ahead and make sure that both low-income communities, low-income buildings, and buildings in low-income communities all can take advantage of getting ahead on the electrification front. There are, in New York City, and eventually will be statewide, some real sort of trigger dates for people to get off fossil fuels for mostly for heating and hot water, but also appliances. And so this is going to allow us to roll out sort of a program where we'll allow building owners to be able to take advantage of grant dollars or very low interest loans to electrify their buildings. So we're really excited about that towards meeting the overall, the state put forward sort of a million homes goal. And so this work will feed right into the overall goal that we share with NYSERDA and some of our other partner agencies. Just a couple other things I'll touch on quickly. There's $35 million in the budget for an eviction prevention legal assistance program. As many people may know, there is a right to counsel in New York City. This is an attempt to create a structure in the rest of the state where people can access, low and moderate income households can access free legal counsel. So we're excited about that. It had begun in the ERAP program. And so this is really kind of an extension of that commitment. There's also $35 million for what's called the HOP program, which is legal assistance and counseling to homeowners, which has been around for quite some time. And sadly, that need for homeowners who are still in foreclosure exists. So this will be a continuation of that work. There's also $2 million to continue the state's fair housing testing program, where we're going after housing discrimination proactively. So we're really excited about that, as well as some funding to get at some fair housing reforms. And I'll talk about those in a second. And there's also $1 million for us to do a kind of a pilot program around new models of community-controlled affordable housing, getting at sort of land bank or sort of more democratically kind of operated types of housing options. So we're going to be rolling that out in a couple months. So all of that was really tremendous and exciting. There were many things I had mentioned before that didn't make their way through the budget process that may have another life in the legislative session or may not. And those are primarily for us targeted around the housing supply. We have we have population growth, we have job growth. We really need to make sure that we have housing growth in all sectors, not just affordable. So we feel really strongly about tools like accessory dwelling units, like transit-oriented development. We worked very closely on the 421A, what was renamed 485W, again, sort of a supply side tax exemption to drive construction of rental housing in New York City. So we will keep working on those. We also have some fair housing initiatives around credit checks and criminal background checks that we're working with sort of the advocates and the larger fair housing sort of system in the state to get some changes to those, which we're really excited about. And I'll just end by saying, and we did this 5 years ago, where we came to the board and asked for a staffing increase to be able to absorb some of the additional work that the housing plan and all of these initiatives create. We are, doing our best to keep that only to really what we need, but we need a little bit more time just to sort through all that. So we will be back in May with a staffing request that will go with the housing plan. So that will do it for me. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Alex, to we're going to start with the audit committee. Right, sorry, let me pause and see if anybody has any questions, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. That was a lot.
Good morning, Ruth Ann. This is Avidan.
Hi.
Great presentation. Thank you so much. Exciting budget. It seems like a very robust budget with some new and exciting initiatives. I just want to get a sense, how does this year's budget compare to previous year's budgets? Do we see an increase, a significant increase? Seems so, but I'll let you answer the question.
Yeah, so it's a great question. When we did this 5 years ago, we had a $2.5 billion capital ask. Over the course of the 5 years, that was increased. We also sort of count on our overall some funding that OTDA uses for their homeless programs. That was increased. We had some additional public housing money come in. We had some additional supportive housing funds come in. So in the end, where we started at $2.5 billion was probably more like $3 billion. So starting about 5 years ago, and now we're about 4.5, and we have these sort of two big growth areas, one around homeownership and one around electrification, that I think drives sort of the bulk of that increase, in addition to just sort of cost increase across the board. So it's definitely bigger for us, and we're really excited to take that on. Anybody else? Super. Well, I'm always around if folks have questions, or we can come back to it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Just in terms of, particularly in terms of the preservation projects, which I guess are basically rehab of some sort. Do we have any, will we have any additional requirements regarding green building construction?
Yeah, so we are just rolling out a new set in tandem, and Thebia and Becky's teams have been working on this for quite some time. New design guidelines, which are updating a lot of our just sort of general construction requirements. And then we pulled out of our design guidelines and added to a whole new set of sustainability guidelines, both for new construction and for preservation. And we are basically going to require all of our new construction, by probably like this time next year, but we're going to phase ourselves into that to be fully electric, with preservation sort of following on the heels of that. So we're just about to release, I may not mean to put you on the spot, but we're going to release the sustainability guidelines and the design guidelines in the next month. You're on mute, but I think you're saying yes, a few weeks. Okay.
Sorry, double mute. Yes, in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks. Great. Happy to send those to everyone if you want to see them. We spent a lot of time, the team did, putting together a really great set of what we're expecting, what we mean when we say that for different types of buildings, what you can and can't do, both on sustainability, sort of options for compliance, things like that. It's really comprehensive, and we're really excited. It's the first time we've had a real comprehensive set of sustainability guidelines.
Thanks. That would be much appreciated to give us more of a, pardon the expression, concrete idea of what's happening.
Yep, absolutely.
Ruth Ann, it's Sadie. I had one quick question. Have you been seeing the developers come in asking for more subsidy on the back of increasing costs and material costs for construction and interest rate increases? How is that impacting your pipeline?
Yeah, Debbie, you wanna?
Yeah, I mean, it's impacting. I mean, it's a balance, I think, deal by deal to evaluate which, levers we have to pull. If it's cost increases, particularly after we close, and increased interest rates. So, our subsidy term sheet limits have remained the same, and I think, we are continuing to monitor and evaluate, but we are trying to deal with any of these impacts within our existing term sheet limits. But it's definitely something that we're keeping an eye on because, costs are increasing all around.
Thank you.
Ruth Ann, Dave, I have a kind of a parochial question for you from my position here in Greenport. We have ADUs as of right in the village. Is the funding for ADUs going to go through municipalities or directly from individuals to the agency?
We haven't 100% settled on that, but my sense is we'd probably do it either through a nonprofit or through a municipality.
Thank you. We'll try and send you some business.
Super. Great, and cheers to Greenport for being progressive and having accessory dwelling units. So let's jump in and begin with the minutes of the Audit Committee meeting held on January 27, 2022, which shall be deemed approved, absent corrections from members and directors, unless anyone has any questions on those. Otherwise, we will move along and we will go to item 2, a resolution approving internal audit work plan for fiscal year 2022, and Hanim is going to present. She is. Hi.
Morning, everyone. So today I'm presenting 2 documents for your review and approval. One, internal audit charter, and another one is internal audit plan. Both documents require board approval. And both documents are live documents, so if any changes will happen, we will bring it to the board's attention again. So I will start with the charter. You have it in the package of the documents. I will just go over the key points about the charter. So charter is a formal document that defines internal audit purpose, authority, responsibility, and position within the organization. Having a charter establishes the internal audit activities position within an organization, including the head of internal audit's reporting lines, access to records, people, and property, and the scope of activities. Internal audit charter covers HCR, including 5 entities. It's a key benchmarking tool against which organization can measure the effectiveness of internal audit. It can also act as a service level agreement between board and audit committee, so that there is a clear understanding of the roles, purposes, and position of audit within an organization, and scope and the nature of the work. This document helps other departments, executive officers, as well as the board of directors to understand what internal audit activities are and help internal auditors themselves to know their scope, rights, responsibilities, and reporting lines. The charter needs to be reviewed periodically and approved by the board, especially if any changes will happen. If you have any questions about the content of the charter, its goal, please ask. And I'm asking to approve it, so it will be the basis for our function.
Hanim, do you want to, that's item 3 on the agenda. Do you want to just do item 2 also, the audit work plan?
Sure. Another document that requires board and audit committee approval is internal audit plan. The change that we implemented for internal audit plan is that we will apply calendar year toward our plan. And since the previous year plan ended in March, so this year plan starts from April and ends in December. And next period will start in January and end in December to match the calendar year. And so the internal audit plan is a guide for utilization of internal audit resources during the planning year to address the risk of the agency and as well as finalize remaining audits of the previous periods. The plan scope is covering HCR, including 5 entities. This year, internal audit plan consists of operational, financial, and administrative audits, third-party servicing bank audits, and also ad hoc audits based on management request if needed. The internal audit plan is attached and subject for periodic review and approval depending on the needs of organization and availability of audit resources. If there are any questions about both these documents, I'm ready to answer.
Okay, so if there are no questions, we're going to do the audit work plan first. That's before all 5 committees. So assuming the first and second is previously recorded, all in favor of approving it, please say aye.
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 Thank you. And we'll do the motions that carry the resolution adopted. Then we'll do the audit charter. That's also before all 5 committees. Assuming the first and second is previously recorded, all in voting in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
Now we are at item 4, approval of the audit committee self-evaluation. And I think, do we have Sonia? Great. Hi.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm muted. Okay, great. Okay, good morning. Yes, we conducted the 16th annual audit committee self-evaluation. The audit committee, they completed a questionnaire of 25 questions. The results of the questionnaire were favorable. The average score was 4.36 out of 5. During last year's self-evaluation, the audit committee mentioned the need to fill the 2 vacant positions, which have since been filled, and we welcome the new members. And we would just like to thank the audit committee members for their service, and your role is integral to the audit and the reporting process.
Any questions? Okay, Alex.
So we'll move to, again, this is before all 5 committees. Assuming the first and second is previously recorded, all voting in favor of adopting the resolution, please say aye.
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 Thank you. The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
Sorry, I lost my script. Oh, there we go. Okay, the Last two items on the audit committee agenda are for our information items. Item 5 is the financial statement update for the first quarter 2022, third quarter fiscal 2022 for HC. And item 6 is the administrative budget report as of January 31, 2022. Since those are just information items, and we have no unfinished business, let's go to motions and seconds to adjourn the 5 members and director committee meetings. Alex?
Yeah, just before we go to that, Ruthann, I just want to make sure items 5 and 6 are in fact informational, but they are important financial documents that, you know, we provide pursuant to the state controller guidelines. So, you know, we urge the audit committee members, as it's also before the board, to review them and to look at them. They present, you know, very good data on the financials and the budget. So sometimes, you know, information items get kind of lost in the shuffle. Assuming the first and seconds previously entered for all 5 committees, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motions are carried. The meetings are adjourned. The next audit committee meetings are scheduled to meet on Thursday, June 9th, 2022.
Okay, thank you, Alex. We're now going to go to the governance committee agenda. Item 1 is the transcript of the governance committee meeting that was held on January 27th, 2022, and it shall be deemed approved, absent corrections from members and directors. Any corrections? Okay. We will now move to the consent item. There'll be no discussion of this one unless committee members so request. So item number 2 is the approval and/or review of various contracts monitored by the Facilities and Administration Department.
Okay, so if there are no questions on that, this is only before the HFA, SONYMA, Mbba, and TSFC committees. Assuming the first and seconds from those committees for this item, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motions are carried. The resolution adopted.
Okay, the last item on the agenda is an information item. Item number 3 is an annual review of the Memorandum of Agreement with Natural Heritage Trust. Any comments or questions on that? Okay, so there being no unfinished business, Alex will ask for motions and seconds to adjourn each of the members and directors governance committee meetings. Alex?
This is one of our shortest governance committee meetings. Assuming the first and seconds previously entered for the committees, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right,
Sure.
motions are carried. Adjourned. The next governance committee meetings are also scheduled for June 9th.
Great. Okay, we're now going to go to the board meeting and start with the presentation of the items shared by HFA, AHC, SONYMA, Mbba, and TSFC. Alex will record the approval of the transcript.
So another transcript, the transcript of the meetings held on March 10th shall be deemed approved, absent corrections from the members and directors. So if anybody has any questions or comments? No? Okay.
Go to item 2, which is a resolution approving the annual evaluation by the audit committees. This item was discussed earlier at the audit committee meeting, and so we will move to a vote. Alex?
Okay, now before all 5 agencies is the resolution for the annual evaluation that the audit committee just approved, assuming the first and seconds previously recorded for all the boards. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Speaking of information, okay, the motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
Okay, super. So the next 6 items are information items. So I'm just going to read through them, and then if folks want to talk or have questions on any of them, we can do that. Item number 3 is the investment quarterly report for the period November 1, 2021 through January 31, 2022. Item 4 is the administrative budget report as of January 31, 2022. Item 5 is the financial statement update for the first quarter 2022 and the third quarter fiscal 2022 for HC. Item 6 is the review of agency's first quarterly procurement report for the period commencing November 1, 2021 and ending January 31, 2022. Item number 7 is the current agency procurement contracts in the lobbying restricted period. And item 8 is the quarterly swap report. Any comments, questions, concerns?
I have some questions relative to the MBBA allowable investments. And in the one paragraph, it recites that, I probably need a clarification. So it defines what are the allowable investments from the various agencies and so forth. But in one section, it says allowable investments for MBBA refers to securities, time deposits, certificates of deposit, repurchase agreements, etc. Okay, so it says certificates of deposit are allowable, and then when you read further down, it says the MBBA, HFA, and AHC shall not be authorized to invest in certificates of deposit. So I'm just a little, somewhat confused as to within the same paragraph of allowable investments, and then further down on certificates of deposit, and then further down it doesn't allow for certificates of deposit for the MBBA. And I just want to know if there's a misstatement there, or we need more clarification as to why certificates of deposit aren't allowable at some point. So if you look at page 46 of the document, that's the paragraph I'm reading. Under Section A, under Section Article 6, permitted investments on specific funds, Section 601, and it starts in Section A of that. It says all bond proceeds, revenues, and MBBA funds shall be invested only in, and I refer to it as securities, time deposits, and also includes certificates of deposit. And then when you read further down on number 3, it says MBBA, HFA, and AHA shall not be authorized to invest in certificates of deposit. So I just wanted to know where, how it was determined, or somehow, obviously you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I understand the question. I think we don't have an answer probably right now. So, Alex, what can we do procedurally?
Yeah, Andy, so I'm looking at our investment guidelines, which obviously, cover all of the agencies, and each agency has its own statute. So that's where the possible confusion might be, because we pick them all up. And so MBBA.
If you look at that paragraph, Alex, I don't know if you're at that point yet, but if you look at it, it just seems a little.
Yeah, it's contradictory. Because
you do break down individual agencies throughout that paragraph as to what is allowed and what isn't.
Right. Let me. We'll look
check
at
on it. I'm just either that we just got to correct the document.
Yes. So we'll look at that and correct it, okay, and get back to you on it, and the other MBBA board members.
Okay.
I could probably do this now, but we'll good point. By the way, that allows me to say something about Andy here. And Andy had some very, we approved the MBBA bond deal last time, and Andy had some questions at the board meeting, and we followed up with that, and Andy was very helpful. And I think we had at least 2 phone calls with the MBBA working group going through cost of issuance. We succeeded at his initiative in lowering the cost of issuance for the transaction, thereby saving Buffalo some money. And if Andy hadn't done that, I don't know whether that would have happened. So I'm very appreciative of his involvement as an MBBA board member, even though he's causing me out of that. Good job, Andy. And we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, just because those guys were trying to hose us, Alex, we just couldn't allow that all to happen.
We're in a public meeting, Andy.
Oh. Okay, I'm on the record with that.
You're on the record. I hear you. Okay, so actually that brings us, we don't want to get rid of Andy, but that means that there is no further business for Mbba and TSFC. So I'm going to ask for a motion and second to adjourn the Mbba and TSFC meetings and allow Andy and Linda to go. So assuming the first and seconds previously entered for Mbba and TSFC, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
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 Linda, okay. The motions are carried. The meetings are adjourned. Our next Mbba and TSFC board meetings are scheduled for June 9th at 8:30.
All right, everybody. Have a nice holiday weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Andy.
Bye now.
Okay, so we are now going to do the items on our agenda that are to be considered for mortgage insurance by the State of New York Mortgage Insurance Committee. Item number 9 is a resolution approving 100% mortgage insurance on a $2,040,000 CPC permanent first mortgage loan for the 206 Smith project in Freeport, Nassau County. And Mike Friedman is going to present this.
Good morning. This is an all low-income project, which will provide 30 low-income units, including 10 supportive housing units. It's both a 9% credit project and an Hfa project, pursuant to a contract between OMH and Options for Community Living, Inc., a Long Island-based social service agency. It's a heavily subsidized project. In addition to the $2,040,000 CPC first mortgage, there's $2,278,000 in HFA shop subordinate loan. There's a $1,971,000 HFA home loan, and there's almost $9.4 million in federal and state low-income housing tax credits. And OMH will provide $137,500 in annual Hfa rent subsidies. The project is being developed by Lawrence and Ken Regan, who are experienced both CPC and HFA borrowers. This is the 20th loan that the MIF has insured for projects controlled by the Reagan brothers, but our total exposure is only $43 million, as most of the projects that they do, other than with HFA, are 9% credit projects with very small mortgages. You can see that in Exhibit E. The insured loan amount for this project is only $66,000 per unit, which equals 13% of the project's total development cost of $506,000 per unit. And the project would break even with a pro forma 10% vacancy and collection loss, or an 8% increase in operating expenses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions?
I don't have a question, just a comment. I sent out in advance the scoring using the AFFH tool that we have, and you'll see that this project received a -25, which is not as bad as it could be. And part of the reason for that is that there was neither a worsening or a better, a positive increase concerning the change in the dissimilarity index. So that's why it has that's why it has a 0 score there. The project is in a disproportionately non-white area, but it's kind of interesting because it's between an area that is, has a higher score in terms of segregation, and an area that's really very, low income, very racially segregated. So in that sense, it's an interesting spot in between, and it's not gentrifying which means that the 4 items that we look at, increase in the white population, median household income rising, median rent increasing, and percent of college-educated adults increasing. So from that standpoint, it's not a gentrified or a gentrifying community.
Thank you, Elaine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, was someone else gonna? Okay. Alex, do you want to take us to approval?
Okay. Yes. Now before the Mortgage Insurance Committee for approval is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with the item. Assuming the first and seconds previously entered for the Mortgage Insurance Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Now we're going to move to the item requiring SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee action and SONYMA action. Item number 10 is a resolution of the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee and of the SONYMA Board recommending and approving a $1,550,000 increase on a $6,150,000 CPC permanent first mortgage loan to a total of $7,400,000 for the 33 and 35 Academy Street project in Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County, and Mike is going to present this as well.
So this project comprises an increase in an existing $6,150,000 commitment to insure a project on Academy Street in Poughkeepsie that the Mortgage Insurance Committee approved at its October 10th, 2019 meeting. It's going to the full board today because the increase of $1,250,000 to $7,400,000 increases the loan amount above $7 million. So it requires board approval as well as MIC approval. The total development cost has increased by $2.4 million, principally due to increases in structural steel cost and other construction materials. Soft costs have increased $890,000 due to increased carrying costs over the past 2.5 years. However, unit rents have increased approximately 10% since the project was originally underwritten 2.5 years ago. So the project's income to expense ratio decreases very modestly from 1.15 to 1.13. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Alex, do you want to take us to approval?
I have a question, Ruth Ann, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Yeah, please.
Michael just mentioned the increase of 10% in rent for the people that live in these will live in these places. Do we know about the affordability in terms of are the families in these units able to absorb a 10% increase?
Oh, this is a new construction project. The rents originally underwritten back in October of 19 were just pro forma rents. So it's not as if the existing tenants are suffering rent increases. It's simply our crystal ball wasn't that good 2.5 years ago.
Got it. Thank you, Michael. Thanks for the
Correct.
clarification.
Super, thanks. Alex?
Okay, now before the Mortgage Insurance Committee for approval is the resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously entered for the Mortgage Insurance Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. The resolution adopted. Now before the SONYMA Board for approval is a resolution transmitted in connection with the item. Assuming the first and seconds previously entered for the SONYMA Board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Now we're going to move to an item requiring SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee action and HFA member action. So item 11 is a resolution, item 11A is a resolution of the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee approving 100% mortgage insurance on a $2.6 million CPC permanent first mortgage loan for the Forward Block project in Oneonta, Otsego County. And item number 11B is a resolution authorizing a small building program loan in an amount not to exceed $1.2 million for the Ford Block project in Oneonta, Otsego County. Mike is going to present on behalf of the Sunny Bay Mortgage Insurance Committee, and Madeline Fletcher will present on behalf of HFA.
I think
So I will be brief because this is also going to the HFA board. It comprises the historic readaptation of a former office building into 24 affordable units and 13,000 square feet of commercial space. There is a $1.2 million HFA small building participating loan program loan. And there's an error on the first page. The historic tax credits are actually $2,066,000, not $620,000. There's a 25-year pilot agreement with the city of Oneonta. The insured loan amount is $108,000 per unit, which equals 29% of the project's total development cost of $370,000 per unit. And the project would break even with a pro forma 20% vacancy loss, a 22% increase in operating expenses, or with 38% of the commercial space vacant. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Madeline?
And so
Burke,
actually, yeah, that's right.
Burke.
Can you guys hear me? This is Burke. Madeline is out this week, so I'm presenting this project in her stead.
Super, thanks. Happy to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, I had audio issues on the last board meeting, so I wanted to make sure folks could actually hear me this time. So this is a request for $1.2 million in small building participation loan program funds for the conversion of 2 upper floors of a historic 1882 building in downtown Oneonta into 24 apartments. The units will be affordable to an average income of 80% AMI, and 4 of the units will be set aside for adults with developmental disabilities. The building is known as the Ford Block, and it lies on Main Street in the Central Business District and Oneonta's Downtown Revitalization Initiative award area. The lower floor is currently occupied with commercial tenants, including TD Bank, a bookstore, a coffee shop, and the building also connects directly to an accessible public parking garage where residents will have free parking. So the location really affords central pedestrian and transit access to educational, social, and health services, as well as community amenities, businesses, shopping, restaurants, et cetera. The sources include a $2.6 million construction and permanent loan from CPC, as has been mentioned, to over $2 million in historic tax credit equity, and it's also leveraging a DRI grant of $600,000, Empire State Development Funds awarded through the CFA process, an additional municipal award of over $400,000, and a pilot. So there's a lot of local and state support for the project. The developer is an entity formed by nonprofit service agency Springbrook, which provides education and care opportunities for individuals with developmental disabilities. And this project responds to a need that they identified for their employees and other similar households to find quality, affordable rental housing in a market that is largely serving college students. Springbrook will manage the property, and they have several facilities in the area and regionally that they manage. Eastman is the GC. That's a large regional contractor that Springbrook has worked with on other capital projects, and the architect SWBR is an upstate firm with affordable housing and historic renovation experience. So the project fulfills a key component of the city's DRI plan and helps further momentum in the downtown core by activating vacant space into affordable residential, serving individuals and families. And so for this reason, we hope that members will adopt the resolution to approve the $1.2 million in small building PLP funds. Thank you.
Super, thank you. Questions? So sort of a small but mighty little project.
Okay, so now before the Sunny Bay Mortgage Insurance Committee is a resolution transmitted in connection with the item, assuming the first and seconds previously entered for the Mortgage Insurance Committee. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Now on this item, Sadie will be recusing herself. Now we're going to go before the HFA members. Assuming the first and second was previously entered for HFA, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, so Sadie's recusal is noted, and the resolution is adopted by votes from Ms. Wisnauskas, Mr. Olchak, Mr. Curtis, Ms. Gonzalez, and Ms. Sconiers, and Ms. Miller. Sorry. Okay, and with that, the resolutions are adopted.
Super, thank you. The next item on the agenda is an information item. There'll be no discussion unless board members or directors so request. And that is for item number 12, the activity report for the Mortgage Insurance Committee for March 2022. There being no further business for the SONYMA board, Alex will now ask for motions and seconds to adjourn the SONYMA meeting. Alex?
Okay, assuming the first and seconds previously entered for SONYMA, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
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 The motion is carried. The resolution, the meeting is adjourned. I note that our next SONYMA board meeting is scheduled for Monday, May 16th at 1 p.m. So please note that that's not well, Thursday and not our usual 8:30. So Monday at 1 p.m.
Alex, it's Joyce. I will not be able to make Mondays at 1 p.m. because I have class that hour.
Okay, thank you, Joyce. We'll miss you.
Why did we move it, Alex?
I think Chairman Adams had a conflict that month.
Gotcha. Okie dokes. So we're now going to go, we're at 13, right? We're going to go to our AHC consent item?
Yep.
Okay, great. So item 13 is a resolution authorizing the award of grant funds for certain projects. Alex?
Rosanna, at this point, Chairman Adams usually says something nice about AHC.
I'm going to let it all accrue so he can just say that much more when he comes back.
Alex, be my guest. If you want to speak kindly about AHC, I'll listen.
I'm congenitally, it's impossible for me to do that. But now before the is, no, I love AHC. Now before AHC is a resolution transmitted in connection with the item, assuming the first and seconds previously entered for AHC. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, the motion is resolution adopted.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. We are now going to move to the items to be considered by the Housing Trust Fund Corporation. Those are found in the Housing Trust Fund Corporation Board Book. Item number 1 is the transcript of the meeting held on March 10th, 2022, shall be deemed approved, absent corrections from the members. And item 2 is a resolution approving an award under the Community Investment Fund program for Cambrai Court Phase 2. And Pauline Friday is going to present.
Good morning, everybody. I am standing in for Brett Hebner, who hopefully is enjoying a well-deserved vacation. This is phase two of the preservation of Cambrai Court, which is an existing Mitchell-Lama project that was built in the 70s. The project was severely damaged by flooding recently, and the request is for $3.1 million worth of community investment funds to rehab 21 residential units that serve extremely low seniors, 62 and over, and individuals with physical disabilities. Phase two of the rehab involves demolition of one building and the substantial rehab of the remaining residential building, and also rehab of the community space. The rehab will include, it will incorporate flood mitigation practices. There will be an increase in adaptable and accessible units. There will also be asbestos abatement, other site improvements such as improved parking, new concrete sidewalks, the installation of new energy efficient exterior, parking lot lighting, and upgrade for more efficient site drainage. The total budget for the rehab is $4.41 million, and we're being asked to supply $3.1 million of SIF. Additional funders are Federal Home Loan Bank, the Development Authority of North Country, and the St. Lawrence County Weatherization Assistance Program. All of the 21 units will serve tenants at or below 50% AMI, and the project advances the state housing goals of senior housing, and it's a preservation project. The development team is Cambria Housing Corporation, along with United Helpers as management agent. Contact Building Systems will be the general contractor, and the project will be owned by the Cambria Housing Corporation and will remain in Mitchell-Lama's portfolio post-rehab.
Super. Pauline.
Thanks, Pauline.
Questions?
Now,
Any
before
questions?
HTFC members, is a resolution in connection with this item. Assuming the same first and second as previously submitted, all in favor of adopting this resolution, please say aye.
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 Great, thank
But
you.
I did have a question about the mitigation because the flooding issue in that part of the state is becoming more intense, right? And so I'm glad you mentioned there are some mitigation factors built in, but I guess I'm just curious to learn more.
Well, the
Pauline?
information that hello?
Pauline, this is Heather Spitzberg. I'm here if you would like me to address that.
Oh, please do.
Okay. B, I'm actually super happy you asked because I am very excited about what has been able to be done at this project site. You are completely right that the flooding that has occurred in the past was bad, but we are also looking ahead to the rise in waters. So what was done at this site in both phase 1 and phase 2 is we actually demolished and moved the homes to higher ground, and not just based on the existing flood maps, but based upon flooding that had actually occurred in the past, plus 3 feet of what they call freeboard. So it's a 3-foot elevation. And so phase 1 is completely done and out of the floodplain, beyond the mapping by 3 feet, which is super exciting. And then also this phase 2, one of the buildings had to be demolished because it was just too at risk. And the others that are being mitigated are being, again, with that 3 feet above the past flooding, which goes above and beyond what is required minimally by FEMA. And so this is one of the projects I personally am very excited about in terms of floodplain mitigation, and I'm happy to talk to anyone who wants to give me a call and just chat about flood mitigation whenever. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Heather. Thanks, Pauline.
Thanks, Heather.
All right, you.
Commissioners, back to you. So the next, I'm happy to do that too. The next item
Did we
is
do the
a
resolution?
SIF award increase for Bayshore senior residents.
Sorry, did we do the resolution for Cambrai?
We did before.
Oh, okay, before the question. Sorry, I lost the thread on that. Sorry, item number 3 is a award. It said resolution approving award increase under the Community Investment Fund program for Bayshore senior residents, which you all have seen before, and Pauline is going to present that again. I'm just going to present.
Yes, this project is actually asking for an increase of the SIF award. I believe the amount of the increase is $183,694, and it's actually going towards the rebuild of, well, not the rebuild, the build of the community service space. This project has a 2017 SHARS number, and what they discovered is post-pandemic, there needs to be different spacing. So they've asked for additional furniture and also additional funds to increase to enhance the network capabilities. So the original award on this was $366,000. It was increased to $785,000, and now they're asking for the additional increase of $183,694 to bring it to a total of $969,064 to increase the CSF space.
Super. Thank you, Billy.
Are there any questions on this item? Okay. Now before the HTFC members is a resolution transmitted in connection herewith. Assuming the same first and seconds as previously submitted, all in favor of adopting this resolution, please say aye.
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 Thank you. The resolution is adopted.
Great. Thanks. For an item number 4, we have a resolution approving awards under the Community Development Block Grant, Economic Development and Micro Enterprise Program to the City of Amsterdam and Schoharie County. And Crystal Loeffler is going to present.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi. HCR makes approximately $10 million in community development block grant funds available on an open round basis for economic development activity. We award funds throughout the year to units of local government to assist businesses that propose the creation or retention of jobs for low and moderate income individuals. This month, the Office of Community Renewal is recommending 2 awards totaling $272,500. These 2 awards are expected to leverage $165,000 in private investment and create 15 full-time equivalent jobs for low and moderate income individuals. The projects include funding for the City of Amsterdam to assist Creekside Tavern with furniture, fixtures, and equipment to open a tavern in a formerly vacant building, and and $172,500 for Schoharie County to establish the Schoharie County Microenterprise Assistance Program. The Office of Community Renewal requests approval to award CDBG funds and enter into grant agreements with the City of Amsterdam and Schoharie County. Happy to answer any questions from members of the board.
Thanks, Crystal. Hearing no questions, now before the HTFC members is a resolution that was transmitted therewith. Assuming the same first and seconds as previously submitted, all in favor of adopting this resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The resolution is adopted.
Super. Now we are going to do a resolution approving awards under the Community Development Block Grant CARES program for COVID-19 assistance, and Crystal is going to do this one as well.
Thank you. HCR is administering $127 million in CDBG funding made available through the CARES Act. The CARES funding has been made available in an open round application for a variety of activities, including public facility HVAC improvements, public services for things like meal programs, Wi-Fi networks, small business assistance, and various healthy housing activities. This month, the Office of Community Renewal is recommending awards totaling over $20 million for 10 applicants. I'll note that CDBG typically is available only to units of local government. The CARES Act funding, however, allows New York State to administer directly, including awards to non-for-profit sub-recipients. We modified our action plan with HUD in the fall to take advantage of this flexibility since the funding was not yet fully committed. This month's recommendations include our first awards to non-for-profit sub-recipients. The projects include an award to Commission on Economic Opportunity for the Greater Capital Region for construction of a facility that will allow extended early childhood education and youth services in the city of Troy. An award to the town of Montgomery to support the food bank of the Hudson Valley to construct a new warehouse distribution facility serving 6 counties. Awards to the town of North Collins, town of New Windsor, town of Colony, and village of Port Chester for improvements to senior centers and support for senior services. An award to community counseling and mediation to provide expanded mental health services in Brooklyn. An award to the City of Yonkers to support 3 activities, including mental health services, an anti-violence mobile unit in partnership with the YMCA, and support for expanded Wi-Fi in low-income downtown communities. An award to Rebuilding Together New York City to expand its careers in construction apprenticeship program, and an award to the City of Binghamton to replace an elevator in a housing authority property supporting 83 low-income households. These awards bring our total CDBG CARES commitments to over $77 million. At this time, the pipeline of projects and applications in the queue exceeds available resources, and we expect to bring the remaining awards to the board and commit the remaining funds over the next few months. The Office of Community Renewal is requesting board approval to enter into grant agreements with the communities and non-for-profits identified. I'm happy to answer any questions from members of the board.
Because this is a new process, I was just wondering what the vetting process was for the not-for-profits, right?
Sure. We're accepting applications where we have expectations of them describing their capacity to run the program, experience administering other grants, and we are also accepting a copy of their vendor responsibility questionnaire, the process typically used by OSC to vet non-for-profit vendors. So that's basically the simple background check we're conducting.
What is the process for going back and doing the evaluation and assessment of how well they did, right? What is that process? Could you remind me?
Sure. So for the CDBG program funds, monitoring occurs throughout the life cycle of this. No money is fronted. Funding is released on a cost incurred basis. So each time they submit a payment request, we're reviewing supporting documentation and materials that describe the work that they're doing. And, based on, each type of activity is a little bit different, but depending on what they're doing, they're regularly reporting on their accomplishments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Crystal. Are there any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Now before the members is a resolution that was transmitted herewith, assuming the same first and seconds as previously submitted. All in favor of adopting this resolution, please say aye.
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 Thank you. The motion is adopted.
Thank
Great.
you.
Item number 6 is a resolution approving Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher local administrators. And Dan Byer, live from Syracuse, is going to present this item.
Good morning. At the board meeting last month, the board approved the establishment of the panel for the Section 8 local administrator contracts and authorized awards to counties directly served by our Section 8 local administrators with Section 8 Housing Choice Vouchers. We're now working with the procurement team to utilize that panel to meet some other needs in the program. Some of you may remember that a few years ago, we started issuing our project-based vouchers statewide through a competitive RFP, including in counties not served by our regular HCV program. So we are authorizing local administrators to serve those counties where PBB awards are made that we don't currently have a program. We're also utilizing a couple local administrators to beef up our New York City program capacity, which is run in-house. This will help us better utilize the new Section 8 New York City waiting list we established last spring and get vouchers out the door and utilized. So these are all contracts and counties served by these LAs previously. They're incumbent LAs who were with us already. So this isn't a real change that people will notice on the ground, but it properly authorizes the procurement and the utilization going forward. Any questions?
Great, thanks, Dan. Hearing no questions, now before the HTFC members is a resolution that was transmitted herewith. Assuming the same first and seconds as previously submitted, all in favor of adopting this resolution, please say aye.
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 Great, thank you. The resolution is adopted.
Super. Okay. Item number 7 is a resolution approving an extension of a contract with CAISO Document Management for the maintenance of an electronic records management system. And Diana is going to present this.
Hi, good morning. As Ruth Ann said, we're seeking to extend our contract with CAISO, our document management vendor, for one more year. This will allow CAISO to continue scanning documents as they have been while we evaluate future needs of the agency. If you recall, we entered into a 3-year contract with CAISO back in 2019 with a nod to amount of $2.25 million. This ask before you today does not increase funding. It just extends the contract for a year. We still have funding left to expend. And for context, CAISO has scanned nearly 6 million images in the time that they've been with us. They've done an excellent job. I'd like to continue using them.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Great. Hearing none, before the members is a resolution that was transmitted herewith. Assuming the same firsts and seconds as previously submitted, all in favor of adopting this resolution, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The resolution is adopted.
Super, thanks. Now we are on to item number 8, which is a resolution approving an extension of a contract with Dathros Inc., 22nd Century Technologies Inc., Penda Aiken Inc., Software People Inc., and Indu LLC. And Nanika from GOSER is going to present.
Good morning. So yes, GOSER is requesting a 5-month extension for one vendor contract, 8 rows, and 17-month extensions for 4 vendors, 22nd Century Technologies, Penda Aiken, Software People, and Indu, without the competitive award process. These vendors were all selected to provide temporary staffing solutions through an RFP in 2016, and were chosen based on their experience and capacity, methodology, commitment to compliance, and price. GOSER is requesting that these extensions be granted based on a review of several factors, namely the institutional knowledge that these vendors already have working on GOSER programs, the time and cost it would take to replace the vendors through another GOSER procurement process, and because these vendors all provide a strong quality of service and consistently receive high performance evaluations.
Are there questions on this item?
Yes, I have a question. The purpose of this contract is to provide temporary staffing. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how many years has this contract been running for already?
This procurement began in we had the procurement in 2016. So about 5 years. We're at the 5-year mark. That's why we actually came to the boards, because after 5 years, we have to actually come back and get the approval from you guys.
Right. So my question is simply, that's hardly temporary, isn't it? And
Okay.
why isn't this being done by just hiring staff or reassigning existing staff?
Excuse me, I missed the second part of your question.
Why isn't this why isn't the staffing being accomplished simply by hiring staff ourselves? Because this is looking like a long-term project here.
Well, I just think that we've consistently just renewed these contracts. I'm not sure why they did it this method, but since I've been here, we've just consistently just done it this way. I'm not exactly entirely sure why GOSER can't handle the actual hiring. I just think maybe it's just a lot of staff, so they're using these vendors to just complete that task.
I have problems with this. I will vote for it, but I would just like to register that I do have hesitations about it, and I'm not sure how I would feel about such contracts in the future. I really have questions about them because they go on indefinitely, even though they're supposed to be temporary. And I don't understand why the agencies can't do their own hiring. They do for many things.
Okay, I can go back and get some more clarification on why why this method has been used, why we've done it this way.
Yeah, we can hold it, Joyce. Nanika, can you guys hold this till next month? Do you need it right now? If we want, we can hold it and go back and come back with a more thorough.
The one concern with leaving it is that the contract actually these expire on April 30th. So that would kind of disrupt the whole staffing for the agency if we didn't get the approval.
Well, I can be sympathetic to that, but I would suggest that in the future, we be given a little bit more advance notice.
Okay, definitely.
And
So as I
said, I'm not comfortable with it, but I will vote for it. I would just like to, I would like at some point to have more information about why it's necessary to do this outside hiring.
Thank you so much. So I'll note those in the notes. Do you want to supplement, have this answer supplemented first and then
I
vote?
think Betsy's trying to jump in for 1 second just to provide a little more background. Betsy, do you want to jump in?
Thank you, Ruth Ann. Joyce, this is Betsy. I was just going to provide, having started at GOSER, a little bit of the context of how this decision was initially made, if helpful. One is just a reminder that the overall federal grant has an expiration date, and so the previous and that expiration date just incidentally has been extended, right? So in the early days when this decision was made, the administration at the time was very reluctant to bring on large numbers of staff in permanent positions that were going to be funded by a federal grant that then had a spending timeline, and so they strongly encouraged us to try and do a mix of hiring through temporary contracts and state staff. Had they known that the grant was going to get extended to the extent that it did, that decision might have been different, but it was made obviously with the information at the time.
I somewhat remember that discussion at the time. But is it the intention to just continue this way indefinitely?
Well, that's why we have it for the 17 months, because the program should be ending by then. So that I don't foresee us going past the 17 months. Because
the federal grant was set to end September 2022, and during the pandemic was extended to, I think it's September 30, but might be a little off, 2023.
Yeah, I had 2023, and then I even heard a little bit about 2024. So
But at this time, it's not extended. I think the grant ends on 2023, right?
Yeah,
Congress has not extended it.
Yes.
So in theory, the Sandy entire grant program will wind down, and there'll be some closeout after that, but the grant will be closed out. I guess it's sort of 1 year and whatever that is, 6 months from now. So it is a time limited, sort of entity, and these contracts.
It's a problem that was actually caused by COVID because, like anything, it disrupted projects.
Yeah.
Okay. I just have a problem with contracting out in general. So, as I said, I will vote for it, and given the explanation that I've just received, that does seem satisfactory for this particular contract.
Okay.
Thank you. And your comments are noted, Ms. Miller. So now before the members is a resolution submitted in connection therewith. Assuming the same first and seconds as previously submitted, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
Great. Now we're going to go to item number 9 and bring back Heather Spitzberg to talk about a resolution approving the seeker classification of Silver Lake Meadows and the Rise. Heather?
Good morning, everyone. Neither of these projects have anything as exciting as the mitigation that was needed for Cambrai. These are pretty standard run-of-the-mill seekers. The first one is Silver Lake Meadows. It proposes rehabilitation of 7 buildings with 52 existing family units at 165 Lake Street in the village of Perry, Wyoming County. Significant site work will take place to increase site drainage efficiency. So they're going to be redoing the parking and putting in new site drainage to eliminate parking lot flooding. There are no potential adverse environmental impacts requiring mitigation for this project. The other project is the Rise, which is a Vital Brooklyn project. It's otherwise called Site J. It is at 1366 on East New York Avenue in Brooklyn. It is a new construction of a 7-story, 72-unit building for families. An existing office building will be demolished. and there are no potential adverse environmental impacts requiring further mitigation. At this time, unless there are questions, I am recommending that both of these projects be classified as unlisted actions and negative declarations be made by the board. Thank you.
This is Sadie. CPC is involved with both of these, so I'm going to recuse myself from voting.
Thank you. Your recusal is noted. Now before the members with Sadie's recusal is a resolution transmitted therewith. All assuming the same first and seconds as previously submitted. All in favor of adopting this resolution, please say aye.
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 Thank you. The resolution is adopted.
Great. So the next 6 items are informational items, and there'll be no presentation on them unless requested by the board members. Item number 10 is a review of awards under the Weatherization Stimulus Program. Item 11 is a review of seeker concur actions. Item 12 is a review of seeker type 2 actions. Item 13 is an annual review of the Memorandum of Agreement among Natural Heritage Trust, New York State Housing Finance Agency, and the Housing Trust Fund Corporation. Item 14 is a review of agency procurements and contracts in the lobbying restricted period. And item 15 is a review of the contract amendment with CGI Information Management Systems and Management Consultants for services in connection with the Section 8 Emergency Housing Voucher Program. Any questions on any of those? If not, there being no further items for HFA, AHC, and HTFC boards, Alex will ask for motions and seconds to adjourn those meetings. Alex?
So assuming the first and seconds previously entered for HFA, AHC, and HTFC, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
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 The motions are carried. Meetings are adjourned. Our next HFA, AHC, HTFC board meetings are scheduled for Monday, May 16th at 1 p.m.
I think I'll be on vacation that week, Ruth Ann, so I won't be able to make it.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you, everybody. We all wish Ken well, and I think he'll be back next month, and we will see you all then.
Thank you.
Thanks. Happy weekend.